Any woman can turn a warrior into a doormat or make her doormat partner a warrior. All she needs to do is nag and hound them. What are the parental roles of father and mother? Man is an idea. He powerfully streams the entire ideological element. Your spiritual practice is not truly effective if you can't apply it in ordinary, everyday life. Allow yourself 15 to 20 minutes and start meditating on who you want to become. What are the parental roles of father and mother? I would like to hear the opinion of both Khadija and Imram. Once there came a moment when I realized what she was for me. I realized my daughter's role in my life. I didn't know what my role in her life would be, but I was aware of her role in my life. She is my teacher. We can't get away from it. Either you learn to deal with this counterpart of yourself, or it will be very difficult, both for you and your child, and it will become a kind of hell for you both. Of course, I had to brace myself and transform many things. As she grew older, this question kept vibrating within me. What should I do for her? How? And this vibration was so intense that people and circumstances themselves gave me the clues. Once a close friend of ours, a psychologist, reproved me. Don't you feel you are pushing your child too hard? It's awful. Her daughter is a bit older than mine, so we were on the same page. She just mentioned it, just reproved me, and that's that. But I didn't forget. And I thought, do I really push her so hard, limit her freedom? She had already grown a bit older at that point, and I was seriously concerned about it. Yes, sometimes I do put some pressure on people, because my ruling planet is Mars. I always say, keep calm, it's Mars that is ruling now. By the way, when I mention it, there's no problem, because they know why I act like this. Next year for me will be controlled by Mars. I warned everybody to get ready. So you prepared them in advance? Yes, I prepared them in advance. I can. I realize that I can. And we'll all go through a trance for Mars. Yes. But the thing is that from the astrological point of view, when we are born, all of us have a certain natal chart. It's sort of a clue to the tasks that you need to accomplish in this life. If I have come here with Lagnesha and the ruling planet is Mars, it means that I need these energies, these qualities, this power for settling certain very important issues. I have lived a rather long life already, and it's only now that I realize why I needed this power. I went through challenges that I, maybe, wouldn't be able to overcome if I hadn't had that potential. And I started to think about my relations with my daughter and observe them for the first time. Before, it used to be just an earthly care of the child, to give her all she needed. But here I started to observe how I react, how I act, what degree of freedom I allow her, and all this. And I had an idea. I started to push myself. Don't come down on her. Give her freedom. Don't be so harsh, etc. Myself. Just imagine this maelstrom of thoughts triggered by that reproach. Then in meditation, I had another idea. Both of us. I am speaking about my daughter and me. We've come here to give something to each other. It was her who chose me to be her mother in the first place. It wasn't me who chose her, but her who chose me to be her mother. And she needs everything I have, all my qualities. I realized that there is no such thing as common truth, but a karmic relationship between the two, mother and child. The concepts of pushing and not pushing, allowing and not allowing, giving freedom and not giving freedom no longer apply. We should address this question consciously. It means we should be continuously present here and now. There is no good and no bad. There is a need. If she needs to accomplish a task, but lacks some understanding or energy, I can give her that energy. Sometimes I go, boom. She goes, Mom, and then, thank you, Mom. So she is aware that at that moment my behavior is a little bit harsh, but not violent. It may look harsh to others, but it is a quality of energy that she has lacked in some way. We always discuss it afterwards. She makes some conclusions for herself. Once again, she has chosen me, and I give her what she needs. What I know, what I am good at. And if I want to achieve the best possible results, I must work on myself. We should avoid these quarrels that make energy run chaotically, be repelled, break something. This energy must be given consciously, in the amount and in a manner required for transformation, for growth, for development. If we see a result, it means I have also played some part in achieving it. But let's go back to our practice. It will be way easier for you to do if you have qualities that I have gained when practicing. I don't already imagine that it can be otherwise. This is the most important thing for me. If those disciples that come to us, they consider themselves disciples, catch the wave, usually it's easy for those who practice consciously as they are aware of where they have come to and what their purpose is. They don't come only for the energies, but want to learn particular techniques and topics. They are also aware of it and use it in their lives. Of course, there are many nuances, and maybe they will have to work hard to succeed. It's clear that every further task will be more difficult to accomplish and will require more concentration. But for me, it's that happiness. How can I explain? I am self-aware and nothing gets past me. Nothing happens without my knowledge. I think this is the right way to put it. Really. Nothing happens without my knowledge. It's the top performance. Again, it may take one a while to succeed, but I think it's cool. Really cool. And since we are talking about feminine and masculine aspects, both men and women can do it in their own way. Everyone has their own peculiarities, their own story. But it upholds, it gives confidence and strength to move on. Can you see the difference between how I speak on this topic and how Imram does? We learned it by heart. A man is an idea. He powerfully streams the entire ideological element. I take this idea, and being a woman who is closer to earthly energies, material energies, I try to put this idea into practice and gain experience. I have a more down-to-earth approach. I try to go for details, specifics. Without this idea, however, it is still difficult to make decisions in the material world. This is where I see this very union. I use this idea, this power, this magic, in a good sense. And it helps me grow and gain magnetism. I am really happy. I like it. I would like women to really understand. Well, maybe you do understand. But don't let yourself be led astray from your true nature. Do you understand what I am talking about? It happens often, and we get lost. Here I am very thankful to my husband. This magnetism is very powerful. You know that it can be very hard to separate a magnet. The stronger the magnet, the harder it is to separate a metal object from it. And now I can't get off the road even if I wanted to. This is how he exercises his responsibility and awareness. Maybe he will tell you how I help him. A subtle hint about Mars. Yes, yes. Imram, please say some words about a father's parental role. First of all, I think of where children come from. After all, they weren't here, and now they are. Where did they come from? They came from a world that I view as an infinite universe, the Creator, the universal mind. This world attracted this soul. Why is it attracted? Because we have the qualities within us that it needs to complete its tasks. It's confidence in God. I'm not going to talk about past lives, karma, and so on. There are many cases where children who come are new souls. It's an important thing to remember. It's important to watch your child in an attempt to understand their true nature, their qualities, skills, aptitudes, and so forth. If we adopt a parenting style that is very common now, we'll lose the most important thing. We'll never get to know our children, because they will be shaped the way we want. We'll make them, we'll mold them into any form we choose, but we'll never understand. Will this child be happy? Of course not. And we'll never know who has come to us. This is how I approach this issue. But as a father, I should take care of the child, direct her actions in a certain way. It's very important for a man and for a woman to show their child a different side of life, because the child should feel some kind of spiritual power. It may appear harsh to others. Of course, you should not hurt or hit your child. You should, however, display what is called power, because it's necessary. This is a part of the universal power, the will. It's important for a child to have a deep respect for their parents. A child must understand that the father is God to them, and the mother is God to them. It's actually a Vedic concept, yes. Vedic and universal. Universal. It's not religious. Vedas are not a religion. Yes, it's a Vedic concept. It is the law of the universe in a way. There is a father, there is a mother. Our world is divided into masculine and feminine aspects, and they interact. There is father and mother. What is Om? All of us pray Om. Om is father and mother. A child should understand that the father is God and the mother is the divine mother. The man or father is the divine father. Then the respect that we nurture will be linked to our right attitude. If we respect the soul, we realize that there is Atman within it. This is how I see it. And this infinite divine component is enveloped in the personality. It's very important to direct a person's actions not to let the personality prevail and forget that Atman comes first. The father should certainly remind of this at every opportunity, but without criticism, because if we speak the truth without love, this is criticism. Criticism is repelled. It's hard. In this way, we suppress children. But if the child feels that there is care behind it, even if it's tough, sometimes you have to be tough. I'm not talking about her in particular, but in general, because it's all clear with her. There are no problems. Yes. Whatever Mariam does, if she composes the kind of music she currently does, I am fine with it, because I know it's her inner world. And her inner world, according to the translation that transpires through her art, is beautiful. Any child is absolutely beautiful. Again, it is very important to understand, to remember where children come from. If we forget this, we lose their creativity. Every incarnated soul possesses the entire palette of possibilities of this universe. When a woman says that her child is a failure, or that they have no ear for music, or that they have a tin ear, it suggests that the parents themselves need a powerful transformation. Some children come to transform their parents. There was a time when I watched her and tried, by resonating with her, to feel what she felt. Figuratively speaking, I just infiltrated my consciousness into her consciousness or her body, thus watching this world through her eyes to understand her better. When we meditate, we learn to be fully detached, disconnected, well-balanced, and I can tell you that on a large scale, the entire world is nothing but an illusion. We can be fighting for certain things that in reality don't exist. And speaking about happiness, what are we talking about now? We are trying to approach the same basic issue of being happy from different angles. Within the family, in marriage, if you like, in unity, in dealing with children, with other people. It's easy. Just don't get attached to anything. This is not indifference. Being unattached is a profound understanding that it's all nothing but theater. Satya Sai Baba, my Sadguru, the teacher for all humanity, you take this life too seriously. For all the worlds and everything else, said once. The Quran says that a human life, which lasts approximately 100 to 120 years, passes in 3 days from the perspective of cosmic time. Only 3 days. Is it enough for us? Now we have not 24 hours in a day, but 12. Do you understand? I'm serious. A few years ago it was 16. Now it's about 12. Okay, let it be 13. What can we do in 13 hours? No sooner have we opened our eyes than it's already evening. There is a monastery in the Himalayas, and there is a lantern whose fire keeps burning. A strictly defined amount of oil is poured into it. The monks have noticed many years ago that a day was coming to an end while the lantern was still burning. That amount of oil was intended to keep the fire during 24 hours, or a day. They noticed that the fire was burning in line with that principle, while the speed of time had changed. Metaphysicians are also discussing this, because things are changing very fast. And it's good news because we have an opportunity to learn things faster. And here it's very important that we learn to understand one another through the prism of the law of the universe. I advise everyone to study philosophy of cosmology. You will learn the primary formula of life that helps evaluate any aspect of the universe, including communication with people, etc. You can play a role of a formidable person, for example, who took offense. A father, a formidable father or mother. Or a joyful person. One who really needs it will create this joy. Or a person who pretends to have taken offense. Or one who has adopted a serious approach to solving a problem. The world itself requires it. It's all about governance. But you never change from the perspective of this world, because you don't identify yourself with it. The best way is to maintain heart-to-heart communication with your nears and dears, with your children. I seldom communicate with my daughter. On rare occasions, because both of us work. I work with people. And it appears that I devote very little time to interacting with my family. Because consultations, people, calls take a huge part of my time. The screen time has risen by 200% because people ask for it. Today I've had 4 or 5 messages, and it's crucial to help those people, give them advice, give them energy or information. They really need help. Sometimes we have a brief chat over a cup of tea, but we discuss things deeply. She shares her concerns, seeking support. When I think she is right, I say it. When I don't quite agree with her, I say it. Miriam accepts everything. There's no choice. In any case, each of us performs our basic functions in her life. He, as a father, helps her financially, protects her, takes care of her. I'm a classical mother, that is for sure. But maybe we already do it on a very subtle level. We have a more creative approach to this, like more creative. We must protect children from their own ego. Because children tend not to see very far. Imagine a 14 to 15-year-old. At this age, a mechanism of powerful communication with this world activates in them. Usually they break into the outer life from a spiritual state. A very difficult time, to be sure. What's called a transition period. Here, it is very important to create powerful magnetism that will make the child feel that they are always under control. But this is not an overwhelming control, but one that gives understanding. When Mariam was 14 to 15 years old, her peers used to come to our house when things went wrong for them. Sometimes they even envied her. You have a great dad, you have a great mom, mine are not like that, I have no opportunities, and all that. I talked to Mariam and asked her to say certain things to her peers that I'd like them to know. I didn't accept the responsibility to talk to her peers who needed help. In order not to provoke negative feelings, not to hurt them even more. Because children from disadvantaged families are very sensitive when in this state. But inner work, either a prayer or visualization or charging with energy, when a friend of hers comes to see her, they feel good in our house because we create a field. We work to create it. We are mentally attuned. We always translate the positive power that is needed to help this person. This power can be really immense. Then it starts to cleanse, because wherever we go, what must come to the surface comes to the surface. This is a principle of cleansing. The same happens when we interact with children. It's impossible to conceal anything. Sometimes it happens that you are much stronger and you have accepted a role that is not completely feminine. I just want my family to live better. That's why I try to take all this upon myself. And there comes a moment when you think that all you want is just to be a woman? To be a woman and relax. I don't completely understand. Maybe I just don't wait long enough for it to manifest. Maybe I'm too impatient. Or maybe this is just a useless situation. How to become a true woman and be creative, as you said. I look at you. This is, of course, a very broad question. Yes. Let's start at least. To give you a complete understanding of what the feminine energies are, we need to go very deep into this. We can approach it in different ways. We can read special books or listen to speakers who correctly explain what it is. We can do it through practice. I do it mostly through practice. In my practice, I receive, I derive these sensations. You ask how to catch this wave, but this sensation just comes here and now when I practice. When practicing, it needs to be nurtured. In the earthly world, when you make a mistake, you want to have a break. You don't want to hurry and take this responsibility again. But then there comes a moment when you want something better and you say, okay, I'll help. Maybe it's a mistake. To want something better is a normal feminine trait. Because women need to improve things. That's exactly what they are about. A woman will keep improving non-stop, even perfect things. Yes. However, as you get to the second part, what does improving mean to you? You feel that improving means you should fulfill a man's functions. I think you need to pay a little more attention to it and watch yourself. Make sure you stop yourself in time. I stop myself in time. What does this mean? I immediately immerse in myself. The majority of our problems occur because we either lack energy or we don't know where to apply that energy. You immediately retire into yourself. From my point of view, it is only in the state of peace and quiet that the right thoughts and right decisions come. Even if you feel good, it is difficult to make the right move in an effective state. And again, we come to the point where we need to work on ourselves a little bit. From this moment on, be an observer. Visit us if you want, and we will give you the keys to it. What we teach is spiritual practice. But spiritual practice is not truly effective if you can't apply it in ordinary, everyday life. It won't be spiritual practice then. We call it spiritual, but this is what shapes our life, what raises the quality of life. Of course, you need to put some effort into it. Certain issues will need to be resolved. Start with catching up the right moment. You feel this moment coming and poof, make a pause. I mean, you need to avoid any subsequent activity that forces you to employ masculine energies. Stay on this side. The scales are certain to balance out. Look, you take these energies from him. Maybe it will motivate you. By manifesting masculine energies, by diverting to them, you take that potential from him and use it, and he doesn't need it anymore. Take care of him. Allow him to fulfill himself in this capacity. Let him prove his worth as a man, too. And you will attain harmony. You will capture these moments and you will make them. You will create this harmony. You will understand it and you will nurture it and improve it. Your life will change. You will know for sure that you are doing the right thing. Can you remember a situation when you were improving this space instead of your husband? You tried to improve. Of course, I'm not saying that was the case for you, but often you don't understand anything. I know better. And that's it. And he really doesn't understand anything because it is very convent for him, first of all. Second, he is deprived of the opportunity to be creative. When a woman says, "You guys don't understand anything," we women have our own vision. We are the goddess. We know how it should be. He doesn't like the color green, but he has been told that green is better. He doesn't want green. He doesn't want pears. He wants apples, etc. But he says, okay, and accepts it not by choice. He is patient. He's a good man to accept all that, just to keep her happy. All right, but such things build up. There is no unity, no harmony in this. When a woman says, look, there are several options, which one do you think is better? I'll do anything, just tell me which is better for you. And he answers, whichever you choose will be fine for me. It's a completely different approach. Just an example. These things have to be learned. Actually, this is a kind of magic of governance. Women cope with it just fine. And a man feels happy that his woman, his Shakti, this creative power, thinks about him when acting, and he enjoys what's going on. This is the principle of governance. Vedas say that Shiva, the masculine principle, can't move his finger without the feminine principle. He is dead then. He is not capable of anything. Neither can Shakti, the feminine principle, do anything without Shiva. They are not two opposing sides. They need to come to an understanding. Here's another important point. I say to many girls that there exists a magic way to make her husband perfect in a very short while. Any woman can turn a warrior into a doormat or make her doormat partner a warrior. All she needs to do is brainwashing. Whatever you are doing, brainwash him. As if unintentionally. All of you know how to do it. You serve the table and say, "You look so good today, here you are," and leave. And he thinks, what's going on with her? Listen, you cook and tell him something. He asks, how soon will lunch be ready? I'm just inventing the story. And you say, yes, I just didn't have enough time. But I know that you are so patient. You can easily wait for 5 more minutes. But next time I'll try to prepare it in time. Because I know that you are very busy, you cope with plenty of things, and my well-being also depends on this. I know that you'll do it great, so I need to do everything in time too to make things comfortable for you. You start to work on it, and in a short while, it requires some imagination. It requires engagement. Yes. And you should do it when talking to your friends, too. You know, my husband is just wonderful. He has become a different person. He's a bad sort, actually. But you say to your friends, he has become a different person. I don't recognize him. Then you think, am I going mad? Or maybe it's me who is a different person now. What am I saying? It's the way it begins, but then it starts to work. You activate this mechanism because your consciousness is at least 6 times more powerful than a man's. A woman's mind is very powerful. Think back to a situation. You're sitting there, feeling resentful, and you don't know why. Your husband comes home and instantly feels it. What happened? Nothing. Tell me what's the matter. What happened? Nothing, like I said, nothing. Did I offend you? It has nothing to do with you. And he can't bear it any longer. He starts pacing about, to and fro. Dear, leave me alone. It's about connection. It may seem funny, but it happens quite often. Now, suppose he's a yogi. Are you in trouble? Do you need help? No, I don't. Leave me alone. All right, I'm off to meditation. And he leaves. As he meditates, he creates a blissful field. For her, it changes too. And when you praise your husband again and again, at first he will think you are kidding him. Yes. You are the only one to know that it's not a joke. Then he will start to like it. Because it really is so. We believe in that which doesn't exist, and it happens. We start to program. Look, our world is based on the principle of programming, of hypnosis. We must either get out of hypnosis or use a hypnosis or autosuggestion to shape positive traits. What is advertising? The world is built up on advertising. The entire Kabbalah is shaped around symbols that affect us. These are symbols. They affect us. A nice hall, a beautiful hall. This is already yoga. Right? I think nobody will want to start their practice in a garage. Only a madman or a fanatic or a very determined one can meditate in front of a trash heap. It doesn't matter for them because God is omnipresent, but not all people are like that. They need to go through a state of formation. That's why when you convince yourself and him in something positive, you start to believe in what you tell him, and it becomes a reality. Your spouse becomes perfect. More compliments, more attention, and you create a blissful field. Because we produce positive vibrations. Of course, you will be tested. You may feel envious. Don't tell what's going on in your family to your closest friend, and even to your mom. It's not advisable. Or your dad. It's not advisable. Unless they are your saint mother or saint father or master. When people reach a certain level, they may stop being parents to their children and become their masters. These children understand that with such parents, they can't behave as they used to. It will be totally different now. But of course, human mothers' or fathers' traits remain the same. They still love their child. If you love unconditionally, by the way, every person can feel angry with their loved ones when they don't get what they expect from them. This anger will be smoothed over by your continuous radiation. First here, then here. With this unconditionality and never-ending brainwashing, everything will change. Try, even as a matter of interest. But don't forget about yourself. When you push yourself, you shape yourself. If you repeat over and over again, I am worthless, it's always the same thing. And it's going to happen again. These are your old programs that you must dematerialize. How? Allow yourself 15 to 20 minutes and start meditating on who you want to become. Start doing it in the present as if it has already happened. Start meditating while addressing the on high. Otherwise, you won't manage it. Turn to the highest, saying that you are ready to accept your new self. You are ready to accept your new life that must be channeled through you to help your loved ones. It has nothing to do with selfishness. You are ready to accept all energies that are necessary for it, for the good of yourself and of the world around. Talk about it, imagine it, and shape your new self. This is the essence of spiritual practice. You mustn't be fixed on your problems. You must be fixed on who you want to be. Do you understand what I am talking about? I am a failure, or I am a high achiever. Forget about failures. Success is here for you, and so on. We speak about men taking care of their families, bringing money, and so on. But it doesn't mean that women don't have to do anything. No, a woman also can realize her potential in things she likes. There are many creative women in art and other fields. Every woman has a certain area of interest in which she would like to grow. She can choose one of these. You may be looking for some kind of activity or already know what you want to do. And you do it for yourself because you like it. Because in this field you can grow. But you must never rely on it as a source of income. Do you understand? For example, I like to paint. I do it for my own pleasure. But it's boring to scribble the same pictures. One wants to get better at it. Right? And I dig for information about how to do it better. And finally, I reach a level when my works start to attract people's attention. But when I was learning painting, I didn't think that I would master it and sell my works, that it would make me rich and so on. No, I enjoyed the process. I enjoyed mastering my skills. And I developed these skills so that people liked my paintings. Someone wanted to buy one of my works. Can you feel the difference? A man earns money to support his family. He follows his own principles. Earning money, the money aspect, can be a priority for him. Is this quality inherent in all men? Basically, the duty of care? Yes. But the world has changed. Goods, money, relations dominate. Before it was, imagine we lived in the wilderness. Here it would be another form of care. A man would split wood or go hunting. And all that men usually do. But things have changed. Now he cares by bringing money that sustains his family. Here we encountered a problem. He is ready to split wood, but money, yes, he doesn't think about it. First of all, you should give up the male job. That's the first thing. Second, you can discuss it at any moment. By the way, this is the most delicate moment in a relationship. It's very hard to find the right words, but now we have an opportunity to learn it. Talk about it. Don't rush to do everything by yourself, but motivate him. May I have a word? When brainwashing, you say that he does a great job and will succeed again and again. Yes, we have no money now, but I believe in you. I know that you can do it. Here you start to program and shape him, and many opportunities open up for him because you also begin to believe. You are Shakti who gives him this power. It's a woman who can make a man very strong and ready to move mountains. And he starts to act. You inspire him. It won't take you long to inspire him. He will realize that these opportunities are available to him. The opportunities open up. For people with spiritual values, these opportunities will open up even faster. Because the universe is in tune with those who vibrate high. If a person starts to vibrate lower because of self-distrust, the universe is not to blame, but this person is because they don't understand this law. Sit down together and study how it works, and everything will be all right. You had a question earlier? I would like to ask about your attitude to the sexual life of a couple. Is it about pleasure? Is it about creating a new life? I have a feeling that when you deeply practice spirituality, you feel so fulfilled that the desire for sex doesn't arise much. There are schools of yoga that don't allow it. Some allow it only for childbirth, others totally forbid. It can harm health of those people. Because sexual energy is very powerful. The entire world was created out of this sexual energy. The Creator Himself conceived this world inside of Him. It's not a good way to put it, but this is how it is. He gave birth to all that had been inside of Him. In meditation, in samadhi, you will realize how everything was created, but the problem lies elsewhere. The problem is that people's consciousness gets stuck in the Muladhara and Svadhisthana chakras, and of course, they don't see anything else. This is the first problem. Well, not really a problem, but a nuance that needs to be dealt with. The second nuance is that our bodies are extremely intoxicated. Our blood is contaminated because of unhealthy diet, improper breathing, and thinking. Toxins accumulate in the body and stimulate the sexual organs, thus forcing a person to constantly think about sex. This is also a disease. Because a normal person in an ordinary state doesn't want so much to get what people seem to be craving now. Add to it advertising and other things that affect us. They have a clear sexual innuendo. You can do it only when you know what you are doing it for, and for the sake of what it happens. The point is that two persons who love each other or who want to give something very important, something innermost to each other, don't enter this union only for pleasure. Sometimes it happens too, especially at the beginning of the relationship. That's why people do it. But with time, you start to realize there are very subtle motives, subtle sensations, subtle vibrations that make you want it. Sex becomes a more subtle way of communication. So subtle and so powerful that without them, you don't need sex. And when you look at other people and see, a huge gap emerges. Not because a person is a stranger or a bad lot. You just don't feel this energy in them. This is just an example for you to understand how it works. Of course, it needs time. One of the branches of yoga is Tantra Yoga. Actually, Tantra Yoga is the sublime form of interaction with the divine energy. This is an interaction, a sensation, a perception of the highest divine ecstasy. But for a layman, Tantra Yoga was cast down to sexual practices. But they, in their turn, can give this momentum, and sooner or later you will see the result. People who took monastic vows won't be able to handle their sexual energy. We know that in monasteries, people have significant problems with their consciousness in this regard. That is why the best thing is to create families that give birth to new people who will develop an adequate perception of this life. What is monkhood in general? In this regard, it is Brahmacharya. These are people who don't try to escape what is supposed to be forbidden. These are people who are calm about what is tempting or attracting or tying. Real monkhood is not about dependency on something, but about a possibility to use it. This level is universal. I don't see anything bad here, with the only exception. Sometimes people start to overindulge. A man loses energy required for communication. Therefore, he needs to transform his power, masculine power, into supreme transcendence. He mustn't let his semen go so often, as all our contemporaries do. If he does, he becomes stupid. I have a video dubbed "Gluttons Get Stupid." The next one will seemingly be dubbed "Such Behavior Makes One Stupid." He dies fast. This is really very important for a man. A woman accumulates this energy. There's another problem. Not all women can accept this energy. That's right. At a certain level, relations arise. Okay, what should a 60-year-old couple do, for example? Is love over for them? Can love be dependent on sexual relationship? There are people who say, I have no more feeling for this person. My heart is cold. Our intimate life is over. What about your inner feelings? What about your spiritual connection? What about unconditional love that is above these sexual centers? What about responsibility and respect? This is all going away because people, mostly children of a young age, are being brought up in a different way. Modern children and teens are influenced by these incorrect attitudes. To sum it up, this is neither good nor bad. If a person understands it all, they work with it. If a person doesn't understand it, life will force them to understand. I always tell people to learn all these principles and move on, rather than wait until life forces them to do it. Because being forced to do it can feel rather painful. Therefore, you need to make an effort. One of the relevant problems nowadays is that this aspect is very emphasized. Spiritual aspects are suppressed, therefore it may seem that this can serve as a foundation for building up relationships. This is a very serious mistake. People must understand that this is a part of life, a very interesting part. There are many things that you can learn, use, transform, sublimate for your own benefit. But this is only a part of life. It would be completely wrong to build up relationships on this basis. You would get stuck down there, but we need to evolve above it. There you can find room for creativity and more. This is a self-sufficient aspect of life. But when you are aware, you understand these mechanisms. You know what you need it for and how it works. And again, you come to a point where you need knowledge. You mentioned that when you feel fulfilled, you don't need it. But it takes two to tango. Yes. What if one feels fulfilled while the other doesn't? Yes. But when you feel fulfilled, you are ready. You want to be together. You are ready to fulfill the other person. You don't have to do it in a way people usually do. There is another type of fulfillment. What is pleasure? This is a search for happiness. What is happiness? This is a search for blissfulness. A meditator attains blissfulness. For others, it looks like they are happy. For them, pleasure has remained down there, and they don't need it. What views are shaped in young people now? Did you orgasm or not? If not, you failed in life. What is an orgasm? If we take chakras that run along the spine, this is a hint, just a hint. It's energy that passes through the petals one by one, lightly touching them. And a person feels sort of good, but this feeling is finite and very brief. Then they get obsessed with an idea of prolonging this sensation. But this is just a hint at what they can feel if they really open chakras. Here we realize what the universal sensation of the limitless is, what joy is, which is only possible when you open up this center that is within you. Of course, you can do it with your partner. If people are passionate, Tantra power will help them here. Or you can do it on your own, performing your marital duties if you think it right. This is where it should happen. If it happens only down there, it won't work. But when it happens here, people get attached. People that have received the powerful energy of your heart get attached to you because they are still down there, but you are here. This attachment makes them suffer. They can't live without you. When you give them that powerful energy of your heart and they say, "The only thing I want is to be with you," it means that they are ready for this sublime feeling. You need to help them evolve to a level where there is no attachment. Any attachment does away with love. When one says, "I love you," while they are attached, it's not love. This is an attachment, violence to self, and the one you think you love. This is where this sensation should arise. This is from where all masters translate these feelings. They say that sometimes they need to be harsh to cut off these attachments. It happens. To some extent, it depends on the master's style of work. Every person can be a master in this or that sphere of life. Sometimes they really act. Or if a woman or a man are sufficiently aware, they say, "That's all. Yes, it's painful, but it's all for now." Then their friend or partner says, "Good that it happened that way. Now I understand." Unfortunately, understanding always comes a little later. Because at the beginning of the relationship, your emotions are running high, because you have attachments and desires. The Buddha said, "Get rid of the desire, and all will go well." This is what he did at his time. I'm sure it wasn't easy for him to give up his beautiful wife and children, leave everything behind, go to the forest and live like a hermit. It's really hard. But he was aware of the profound principle behind it. Thank God we don't have to do it now. We don't have to leave anybody. What we need is to realize that all are perfect, that no one can belong to us as if they were a thing. However, we must learn to give while understanding it. The more we give, the better. It's possible. Or, here's a simple example. You told us about family challenges. But if you feel love, are these challenges really important to you? I understand that it's hard, that you have to take care of children and so on. Maybe there are other family problems. When a woman feels that she can lean on a firm man's shoulder, and a man feels that she supports and inspires him, there will be no problems. You develop, but your partner doesn't practice spirituality. This is what Anya was talking about. A couple is made up of two, and when you feel fulfilled, you don't need more sexual energy. But your partner demands it from you, and this is also what destroys the femininity. This is how you should see the situation. You must change your attitude. Of course, yes. I should work on myself, it's clear. Not that you should work on yourself. I'll tell you what it means. First, we all know about marital duties. You don't need it, but he does. From the communication perspective, from the perspective of cosmic law and your life as a couple, you mustn't leave your partner. It means you must compensate for it in this or that way, or give him what he asks for, because this is his level. But you should develop a different attitude to it. You can think something like, I meditated for a week, I accumulated energy, and then he came and took it from me. But he needs it. This is an example. You agreed to give him what he was asking for, and then you felt unfulfilled and hollow. This is just an example. But this is not his problem. The problem is yours, as you can't. You should learn to connect with him. It suggests that you are afraid to share with him. Maybe it's vital for him. Maybe this is your help he seeks. This is the way to share this energy. You can say, put it here. And you'll hear, open your hand and we'll put it. But to put it in your hand, they will have to take what is there. But you resist. No, I won't give you what I have. Give me more. Open your hand, we'll take yours and give you a bigger one. It's a metaphor. It's important to understand how it works. Sai Baba often says, the more you give, the more I'll give to you. I'll give you even more. The more you try to give, the more you'll receive. This process is like a torus. Have you seen a torus? The energy is continuously self-replenishing. You are divine beings. You should have no fear. You are part of God, and God is a continuous, never-ending radiance of love. Quantum possibilities arising out of this limitlessness. There is nothing to be afraid of. Just be brave enough to move on in this direction. A woman is closer to the divinity, which means she has greater opportunities. This is her nature. A man is more rational, and sometimes his mind complicates things for him. He needs to awaken this feminine spontaneity. Harmony means that in their partner, a man and a woman find what they lack. A woman becomes more rational and learns to control herself. It doesn't mean she represses her feelings and emotions. She just adopts some of the masculine traits. Not in life, but within herself. And she becomes not only spontaneous and intuitive, but mindful. She learns to be mindful. A man who is naturally more rational tries to get a handle on the feminine intuition within himself, and the couple attains harmony. This is social realization. You'll get the sixth and the seventh senses. The sixth sense is intuition, and the seventh sense is intuition plus knowledge, sense knowledge. Then you'll become a mystic in this lifetime. What is contemporary science? It's all about mysticism. Mysticism is contemporary science. This science becomes very deep and subtle, and you realize how to interact and work with energy. The energy information field will change if you change here. Change your attitude.